It's like my dad used to say, like, you are good at everything, but you're good at nothing. So it means you can do a little bit of everything, but you will never be one of the best in one specific thing because you split your knowledge through several other areas.
Hei og velkommen til Fotopodden alle sammen. I dag det meg, Thomas Brun, som sitter her fordi vi skal snakke litt om innholdsproduksjon. Og det jo noe som har blitt mer og mer populært i det siste. Det til og med egne kurs for det nå, som jeg synes veldig gøy. Det jo innholdsprodusent som min rolle hos Foto.no, så det synes jeg veldig gøy å prate litt om. Og for å hjelpe meg gjennom denne episoden så har vi med en annen innholdsprodusent, Pedro Lemos, velkommen. We're going to do this in English because you're from Brazil, right?
Yes, correct. I'm originally from Brazil.
How long have you lived in Norway for?
I live in Norway for almost 4 years now. Yeah. So I have learned Norwegian myself, but I think it would be nicer to do in English because many of the people I know, they can't speak Norwegian. So I think we could reach more people and have a better...
And sometimes it's a better flow.
Yeah, I think so too.
But like, do you, when you're working, when you're at a job, do you usually speak English or Norwegian? Or?
It's a bit 50-50. Yeah. Sometimes it's fully Norwegian. I've been here long enough to know the Norwegians are extremely comfortable talking in English for a longer period of time. It's okay, 1 day or two, but if they do that often, they be a bit tired. Yeah. So that's also was the reason I learned Norwegian. So I mostly speak in Norwegian most of the jobs, but sometimes it's in English. If I'm recording on YouTube or something, then it's hard to be switching back and forth. So I'd be a bit...
I've heard that for people that move here from abroad, that it's very hard to actually learn Norwegian because Norwegian people are so good at English most of the time, especially here in Oslo, where it's like very internationally, from before. So I can understand that you have to kind of like force yourself.
Yeah, pretty much.
And also force other people to be like, you have to speak Norwegian too, because I need to it needs to come into my system.
Yeah, and I think it needs to come from yourself. I think you're the only one that can kind of change that because it's much easier for the Norwegians to just, he cannot too much Norwegian and I can English, let's just switch it. Yeah. So I think you're the one that has to kind of control that and like, hey, can you please take it in Norwegian because it's the only way you're going to learn. Yeah. So I think it was a little fight with my girl here and there in the beginning, but now we're good.
Well, it's good. It's good to have you here on the episode. And you've been a content creator, content producer for how long?
That's actually a good question. I don't know exactly what it is. I call myself a content creator because I just love to create content in general. So I'm not like a photographer. I'm not a videographer. But I started with video first.
Skating, was it?
Yeah. I started with skateboarding around probably 11 years ago back in Brazil. And then I started to slowly switch into photographer. But I take photos for approximately, I would say 5 years. It was probably 1 year before I moved to Norway where I started taking photos. But so mostly it was filming from before with skateboarding and then I made the transition to photography. Yeah.
And I heard that it's a very common sort of like, I started with skateboarding too, like filming skateboarding, because I wasn't that good of a skateboarder myself, but I really enjoyed skating. And then I enjoyed filming as well. So I kind of like tagged along on the skate trips. We went on a trip to Denmark, for example. And I was always the videographer. And I was really happy with that because I wasn't that dedicated to skating, but I just liked the environment,
the culture, the community,
culture,
yes.
And just hanging out outside for days, And
that was the best thing it was I
fun.
Can remember.
And I really enjoyed those like follow along where you skate along with the skater.
And you learn a lot as well. Like moving forward, if I see it from back in the days when I used to film, the skills that you kind of get from skateboarding, to implement nowadays, like people do like the dolly shots, Nowadays you can just ride a skateboard.
Exactly. I've seen people do that, especially in running, and if people run on tracks on like flat roads and stuff, they use these electric skateboards to follow them.
I have seen it.
Yeah. You don't need a car, you don't need like a dolly, you don't need like, a steady camera run along with them. Just get on a skateboard, especially electric skateboard.
And imagine if you haven't skated before, you could not do that, right? So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
a good skills you have, if I would say. But for me, it was a bit the same as you. I was still okay at skating, to be honest. I wasn't the best, but I wasn't the worst. But I saw more as an opportunity because where I grew up in Rio, we had like some friends that were really good at skating, and we wanted to kind of like show to Rio, because we were from like a little city in Rio, that we also have good skaters from here. So you guys kind of need to pay attention to us as well. And I have one friend that was like, he had a better financial condition. So his dad had like a Sony mini DV.
I remember those.
So it was a really funny camera, and we used to tape like the fisheye around it because we didn't have like
put it on front.
So we just like start to get tapes and just film like ourselves to just show people like, okay, we also have good skaters here. So everyone kind of film themselves here and there. So I was the one that kind of start to like it more, actually, the filming part instead of the skateboarding part. But it was still like a fight. Like, should I try just to film? Should I focus more on the skating? I was in between doing both. I moved to Europe actually in 2012, and then
to Portugal, right?
Yes, I moved to Lisbon. I was a bit tired of the Brazilian lifestyle, so I decided to try something new. But I mainly came as a skateboarder. Because in Brazil I was just filming, but I have no idea. Like, I didn't charge the camera, I didn't do anything, because my friend had it was his camera, so he'd bring to the session, I just take it, film it, give it back to him, and that's it. So I didn't consider myself a filmer kind of back then, because it wasn't mine. But in Portugal, a friend of mine his dad had a camera, the same camera actually, the same Sony camera.
Right.
I was really familiar with it. So he was really wanted to kind of promote his kid. His kid was Thiago Lopes. He's a really good skater nowadays. And he's like, was 12 years old, and kind of not many people was kind of paying attention to him and filming him. And I was at a skate contest together with his kid, but then my board broke, so I could not compete. So then his dad was like, hey, can you please film my kid, my son? I was like, yes, no problem. So then I just made a video, and I ended up making video about the whole contest itself. But then I could not edit this video because I never edited anything, right? So I just came home, asked my friend that I live with for his computer, and I went to YouTube, like, how to edit videos. And I remember I used like a Sony Vegas back in the days. I don't even know if that exists. So then I made the video about this contest. I was like so into it. And I remember, I think I finished the video like 4 or 5 in the morning, because I was the whole night like, how to do this, how to cut, how to trim, like everything. And then I made a little video, posted, and I slept. And then the next day when I woke up, I had an email from a magazine there like, hey, really cool the video you post, like it was really nice, like can we take a meeting?
Wow.
And I was like, okay, like you can actually do that for living. If like someone is, I had no idea, you know. So then I took a meeting with these guys, and the Surge magazine from Portugal, they was there that I could start to call myself a filmer, because then I start to kind of get like a job with them, start working with them and getting paid for it. So like got my own camera after a while, save some money, start to invest on equipment. So like, okay, now I think I can do that for a living.
I think we all can remember that moment where we realized that you can actually make money off of it, because at some point someone's going to ask you, it's like, okay, how much do you charge? You'd be like, I don't, like, you charge for this? Like, this is just fun.
I could do it for free.
Yeah, exactly. And then someone would be like, no, we're going to pay you money for it. It's like, okay, that's interesting. Well, let's see where we can take that. And that kind of like also sometimes I feel can help you just finance the lifestyle you want to live as well. And it gets you to those events, for example. So if you're into skateboarding or surfing or whatever, then you become really important on like surf trips, for example, where they all need to promote their sponsors and stuff like that. So they need someone to film with them, and they invite you along.
But back in the days, we didn't know that thing, like that their sponsors actually pay for someone to create content with them.
Exactly.
So when I'm talking about this, we're talking about 2012 in Brazil, which is like probably 2002 here in Norway. You know what I mean? We were years behind. Like people here were filming with the red cameras. I was using mini DV in Brazil. You know. So,
but do you feel like if you start with that, if you start with like limited amount of equipment, you become more creative in a way, because
Definitely.
I always say like restrictions force creativity.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And that's one of, I would say, my strength today as a content creator is like definitely improvising.
Yeah.
I come to a set or to a situation where I can get out of that situation really quickly, when others maybe would say, oh, I can't do that if we don't have this or we don't have that. I'm always trying to find solutions, and always, it won't be as perfect as if you had the actual equipment or whatever you're looking for, but we still be good enough under the situations that you have. So I would definitely say that skateboarding and starting from mini DV, starting from like a bad equipment, actually helped me today a lot.
And then you become very, very grateful when you actually get some lights and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, this looks so much better.
Whoa, I can control that with the phone.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. No, I'm a big fan of that myself, the fact that if I go to a job, I can fit everything in one backpack.
Definitely.
I'm a happy person, because it's less stressful as well, especially if you're doing everything yourself. If you don't have an assistant or someone else to help you along, it's really, really nice to be able to just have everything in one backpack.
Definitely. And I also like, was good that you mentioned that, because when we're talking about a one-man band,
exactly.
it's a really important thing to use as less equipment as possible, right? So it's good, like you say, fit everything on the backpack. And as for myself, I also found out that I'm gonna share something that I think can be also valuable for others. That it's, a lot of people think it helps a lot to have a crew, for example, right? You have, if I had someone to fix the light, if I have someone to do that, but you need to think about there's also more people that you also need to manage, right? You need to make sure everything, you become kind of like a director, but you still need to film. So for me, I have also found out that doesn't work for me to have like a lot of people, because I'm so used to do a lot of myself or with 1-2 friends. That is like something for fun, that it works really well for me. That it is not necessary that you need to have a huge crew all the time, because that's also gonna be more stressful for you to manage all those people. So it's also important to kind of understand exactly what you like to do. Is you like to be a one-man band, we do some small stuff. That's also how good.
Yeah, and then sometimes it's easier to, if you're used to doing everything yourself, it's easier just to do yourself instead of explaining to someone else how you want to do it.
Definitely.
Well.
Unless they are kind of on the same level as you, or you are friends, you kind of speak the same language, then it helps. So now, for example, I try to bring at least 1 or 2 people to every single thing I do. It doesn't matter what it is. So it really helps to kind of like also that you guys start to kind of collaborate together. Maybe then he takes you to his shot. You know what I mean? So he's always help. But like I'm talking about 1, 2. Like if you have a bigger one, then you need to manage everyone, and it can be quite stressful.
But it's really important that you fill each other's
like someone do light and you do filming, like something different kind of skills.
Exactly. I did one job, was it last Saturday? And I was kind of like that person to sort of like help out with the equipment in a way, so that the other person could just focus on interviews and stuff like that, instead of him running back and forth from the camera to check if it's in focus and stuff like that. You mic the person up and like you do all this stuff that he normally does, but it's just stressing out about it. So you need to fill each other in a really like complimentary way, I feel. But if you both want to be like the director,
then it can be a little problem.
It can be a bit of a problem, yeah.
It's always nice to find someone that is better in some aspects where you're not that good.
Yeah.
For example, if you have a friend that is more cinematic, the other one is more content creator, the other one's better with lights. So then you kind of combine everything, and then it can be a good...
I always say you need to be able to fix problems before someone tells you that there's a problem.
Before it's a problem, yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
You need to like answer questions before they're asked. You know what I mean?
Before there is a question, definitely.
Yeah. So like if you see the battery on the camera is running a bit low, don't say like, don't wait or till someone tells you to switch the battery. Just like, where's the battery? Just think for yourself.
Be ahead of the game, kind of.
Exactly, yeah. And if you do that, you become extremely valuable.
Definitely.
I also noticed that really early on that when I worked at this, or like, I worked at a couple of companies, like production companies, and I noticed very early on that if you can do something no one else in the company can do, you're more or less irreplaceable.
Definitely.
So special effects, for example, if you know how to use After Effects and no one else knows how to do that,
you're ahead of the game.
You're ahead of the game, because then the company then starts to pitch in special effects and graphics and stuff to their clients, and you're the only one who knows how to do that.
100%.
So when they need to do, cut back on employees, for example,
they won't cut you.
Exactly, because
you're irreplaceable.
Exactly. And then also, I think the good thing about being a content creator as well, and not taking away anything from photographers or videographers and stuff like that, because they do that obviously a lot better than what maybe you and I can do, but we can do loads of different things.
It's like my dad used to say, like, he used to say that to me, like, you are good at everything, but you're good at nothing. You know what I mean? Because you split your knowledge a little bit everywhere. So it means you can do a little bit of everything, but you will never be one of the best in one specific thing, because you split your knowledge through several other areas. And for me, I'm fine with that.
And if you think all of that stuff is fun, if you think it's fun to take photos, if you think it's fun to like do the lighting, do the audio, and experiment with loads of different things, great. The content creators for you. But if you be like, you also have people who are 100% photographers and they take amazing photos and they say, this is all I want to do, then you're specialized in that field. And there's room for everyone, I feel, definitely.
100%.
It's two completely different jobs.
Yeah, and I also feel like people tend to do things sometimes just for the money as well. Like I, for example, have never done a wedding. And I know they pay extremely well, right? Yeah. But one, I would not jump in there not knowing what I should do if I miss when they kiss the bride, or you know what I mean? Like those kind of, it's not my area. And I know they pay really well. And I have some days ago, I had a job opportunity, like 45,000, for example. I was home, I could just go there and do it. Yeah. And I just recommend to a friend which is specialized on that area. Yes. Right? So she went there and did the job. So that's also what I think people need to start to think is like, do the content that you would do for free. Yeah. That you enjoy it, right? Don't think about the money or if you're a photographer, videographer, or whatever. Like, because in the end, you do the content for yourself. Like, I don't do the content for Red Bull, for example, because they paying good or because it's because I would do that for free because I love it. Like you go there, I like skateboarding, I like surf, so that you go surf and you kind of getting paid to do something that you theoretically, not that you have to do for free, but theoretically you do that because it's so fun, right? I'm not saying that you should always do things for free because you like it, but converting, I think people should think about you should do something that you actually enjoy it, not like trying to find things out because this pay well. Of course, in the end, everyone needs the money, right? You need to eat, you need to pay your rent, but trying to find things that you enjoy and do it helps a lot.
It's always a really good sign if you are in a dialogue with a client or a company, for example, and you have a project and you talk about absolutely everything except the price. That comes at the end. Definitely. When you kind of like agreed on the fact that, we're going to...
First, they need to know what they're going to get.
Exactly. Right? We're going to do this. It's going to be fun. We're going to go away for like a weekend. We're going to do this with this person. We're going to film. It's all going to be fantastic. It's going to look fabulous. Oh yeah, by the way, how much do you need for it? Like how much?
Exactly.
And then like the budget is just like, well, that's, it's so you say, so people can make a living, but it's the idea and the concept and project first.
And normally I also experience that the clients, they also pay for the experience. They also pay because they like him work with you. Yeah. I had a client that say like, the other guy here before you here, he was better than you. He did a better content. Yeah. But you provide like the happiness you provide, like it's much fun. Yeah. It's much more fun to work with you. Like you bring some people to the set to help. You bring sometimes I bring snacks, I bring some Red Bulls, water, like some juices, whatever. Those little things here and there, like then can change. Like the content in the end, the difference between creators nowadays is it's really small. Yeah. Everyone can take photos. Everyone is good, right? So like what else can you bring to the table that maybe the other guy cannot do?
We've had a couple of concert photographers here, and they go on tour with the band or the artist or whatever. And they say exactly the same. Yeah. Like anyone can take good photos at a concert. Well, most people can. And you get to a kind of level where the pictures you take are of high quality and you build up, the skill set to be able to do that. And he said, but at the end of the day, you got to, you got to be friends with the people you tour with, because you're in such a small group for such a long time, and you're all like closed in together. So you have to be a really okay person. You need to click with the rest of the group.
100%.
So you can be as talented as you want, but if you don't click with the people,
it won't work.
Exactly.
I have some like when I started out, I would love to have some people kind of helping out, like a mentor or someone that could bring me to the shoots to kind of teach me those kind of stuff. So I feel like now I'm starting to get some other people to help me out, kind of like it's like an internship, let's say that. So they join along with me through the journey. Sometimes I take them to the meeting with the client so they can experience and learn those kind of stuff that they find out quickly that the photos, the content, it's, I would say 10 to 5% of the job. 95% is like communication, like planning, like everything is extremely important. That, like you say, when I talk to the client, they want to have this meeting to discuss what we're going to do. I'm quite clear with them that the photo shoot is only 1 hour, but everything that goes around that hour, it becomes a 12 hours, a 20-hour job for this only 1 hour photo shoot. And then in the end, they're not paying for this hour. They're paying for 12 years of experience, for example, that you have, right? It's not this little, like when you die in there with your heart, you pay the surgery for the, for the doctor. You're not paying for this 30-minute surgery. You're paying for him studying for 10 years and saving your life. It's not that I'm saving somebody else's life, but it's just like an example that you can kind of relate to that. So it's the same. So I bring those people along so they can see, like, is that something for you? You really want to get into photography, videography, content creation, whatever. This is much more than just taking photos. Because if you set up your camera, everything perfectly, give it to your girl, to your dad, grandfather, can you click here? A portrait? You're going to make a portrait. Everything is set it up. You know what I mean? Nowadays, the cameras do half of the job. So it's much more like how you do your planning, how you talk with the clients, the experience you provide while you're shooting them, the deliverable afterwards, like contracts, everything. It's a whole package that some people maybe don't think about it before they get into it. Because I have some interns coming on, they're there for 1 week. It's like, oh, Pedro, thanks a lot. This is really nice, but that's not for me. Because I see you posting trips, so I thought it was just fun. I thought you just go around taking photos and stay in nice hotels and that's it. Like, it's not that. It's a lot of work that it stays behind. And it was like, so I think that's not for me. I think I'm going to do something else. I'm like, no problem. Thanks for everything. It was nice to know you. We're still hanging out nowadays. But people quickly find out that that's not the dream kind of thing that they think about. You get to a level that it is kind of like a dream job, that you're flexible, you do whatever you want, kind of whenever you want. But at the same time, when you actually have to do things, you need to be proper. You need to be organized, right? You need
to be on.
And that's what some people don't realize until they are actually in the game.
Right. Interesting. Now, it's funny that you mentioned that. So you don't pay for what you do, you pay for what you know. Like that's what you get paid for.
Definitely.
I had a client like that actually, like last week. They said to me, like, to my face, they said, we can spend, it was like some editing. They needed help with some editing. They said, we can probably spend a whole day trying to learn how to do this, or we can get you in and you can do it in 10 minutes.
Definitely.
So what's worth more to them?
They pay for the time.
Exactly. But they, their salary, like a day of salary for 2 people, that's what they're saving by getting me in, and then 100%. I do it in 10 minutes.
And that's investment for them. That's what they're going to get in return.
Exactly. But like, how do you price a job then? Like, how do you base?
So, for example, the first thing when I have to get my my feet out of the door is I want a price for it, right? So, because it comes from the knowledge, like we say, like the equipment, right?
And it doesn't matter the job. There's always like a base.
That is always a base that I call like equipment rental. Let's say that, because if you travel to Spain, you got to rent a car. You have to pay insurance, right? Or you have the option to not to pay for that insurance, and if something happened with your car, you cover yourself. So I always also give the option to the client. You don't need to pay for that insurance, but if something happened with my camera, I have a A1 and a 400 2.8 together with CF Express. It costs 150,000 K. You know what I mean? So let's say all the equipment together would cost, I don't know, 200 K in one little shoot. If something happened with those, if it gets stolen, then you have to cover. You decide, or you pay, let's say 4, 5, 6, 10, whatever thousand for the insurance, or you cover if something happened. They would definitely pay for the they don't want to risk it, right? Who likes to risk it? So that's like, that is a price right there. And then I start to calculate the hours from when I'm going to have to charge the battery. Okay, let's put it that way. I think I have a better idea. So I had a client a couple of days ago. She told me about the job. I sent her the price list, as I say, like the tilbud, right? How much it's going to cost. And then she say, oh, but that's in the end, it's going to be X amount of money for 10 hours of work. And I was like, yes. And then I was really nice that day, so I had to explain. Otherwise, I would just say, okay, but that's how it is, what it is. But sometimes you also need to evaluate, do you really want to work with that client? It's something that you really want to do it. If it is, you spend your time trying to explain that. If it's some client that you don't want to work with them, then you just say, this is the price, I don't want to do it. Or you price higher, right? It's something you don't want to do, like, okay, that's cost 100K. If they do it, you go there and do the job.
I've done
right?
that a couple of times. I don't really want to do it, so I'm gonna
so then if they do it, then you take that, do a trip, go surf, or whatever, you do something, right?
Spend that money on something
exactly.
Nice.
But then you take it as a reward. But how I do it, I like to explain then really early, like why it costs that much. It's like this client that we're talking about, it was a 10-hour jobs, right? Split in several days. That is even worse, because then you need to go back and forth, right? So I explained to this client that the day before, you need to charge all your batteries, you need to clean all your cards, clean the lenses, like you start the night before. So I was going to shoot the next day for 2 hours only, but I start the night before, where I spend probably 1.5 hours to 2 hours preparing everything, lights, flashes, cleaning cards, lenses, everything was perfect. I normally make like a equipment list to make sure I don't forget anything, which is actually really important. If you're going to travel somewhere, you don't want to forget anything. So everything spec'd, everything good. The day after, you got to go 1 hour before. You don't want to be late, right? So 2 hours from the day before, plus 1 hour earlier. That's already 3 hours before the 2 hours of shooting, right? 2 hours of shooting becomes 5 hours. Then you pack everything, you got to get home, another 1.5 to 2 hours. Just right there, it's 7 hours. That's a full day of work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Before you even start to do anything else. So you get home, you got to unpack, right? Put the card into the computer, upload the clips, backups, folder, file management, making your file. Like, okay, now I'm going to edit. Okay, but you need the music, you need the sound effects, you need logos, you need layout, you need like a bunch of stuff. Okay, now I'm going to edit. Then it's already 12, 13 hours that you already been on this job, right? Doesn't matter. Like, I'm actually quite like, I edit pretty quick, those kind of videos that I have been done for a while. So I can probably use 1 to 2 hours, for example, in a small video that I've been done for 10 years. Then I can cut everything really quick, so that it's effective. But anyways, that's also another thing that I mention all the time. Then you can't be punished for being effective. You know what I mean? So you still use, let's say, 18 hours on a job, or 16, 2 days of work. So it's not the 2 hours of work. So then when you price, you need to calculate from when you start to do this project into the end. Meetings count, phone calls count,
emails.
If I count my accountant and talk with her for a while, she gonna charge me then for that. You know what I mean? So why not you have to charge for that? Not that you're of course gonna calculate and be writing everything down, but you need to think about from the beginning into the exactly end when you deliver.
Another thing as well is like you said, it takes 2 hours out of your day, but that's one day in your calendar that you're not available to do another job either.
Definitely. It's like the full day plus 1 full day of editing. If you kind of count the day before, the back and forth. So it is quite consuming. They don't know that. So that's why I'm trying to, in a mission, I'm starting like a YouTube now to kind of like show that to the client, because it's also not their fault. Some of them they don't know. Their area is like marketing or something else. So it's our mission as well to kind of educate a little bit then, that they kind of start to know, not for me, but for the next generation probably that's going to come, that they will know that. But
it's the same as like people complaining when they go to like Joe and the Juice, for example, and they buy a coffee latte for 50 kroners. I was like, how is it 50 kroner? It's just coffee. I was like, where you are, like the place you're at, like the coffee machine they use and the labor cost and the rent and like all the other stuff. Everything goes into that one cup of coffee that you have to pay for. And you're also paying for the service. You're paying to sit there.
You could make a coffee at home, right?
You could, and it's a lot cheaper. And you can also use your phone to take photos, but the quality as well isn't the same. Like the experience is not the same.
100%.
So it's completely different.
So that's one good thing for people starting out is to start to calculate from the beginning to the end how much time you're going to spend. And another thing that I'm also trying to specialize more and more is that people don't, especially I work a lot with athletes and sports, they don't want to spend the whole day doing something, right? You're an athlete yourself, so you know if you have to spend your time doing something else that is not training, in the long run, that's going to affect your performance, right? So they want to spend as less time as possible doing something that is not beneficial for them, theoretically, right? So I'm just, as an athlete myself as well, I know that it's important for you, the marketing, the content creation, it goes along with if you, let's say a football player, example, right? They need to be really good in the field, the score goals, be good. But at the same time, it's really important for them to work the marketing, their Instagram, the image, right?
The logo on their outfits, like they have demands.
Exactly. They are their own brand. They are their logo. You know what I mean? So they need to kind of promote themselves. So that's where someone like us, we come in. And that's why I'm trying to specialize, is to use as less time as possible and still charge the same as you use 3 days. Because if you come to a client and you say, hey, I have a photo shoot here, it's going to be like this, this, and that. This is the example. It costs X, right? But we're only going to use 2 hours. Someone come with the exact same proposal to make the exact same content, that's going to take 2 days. Then you go there to Odegaard, national team, and tell him, hey, you have that option or that option. He's going to take the one that goes faster. And that's why you can even charge more for being faster. Of course, if someone spent 3 days, come with a whole crew, make a commercial, it's going to be much better. But do you actually need that? Is the storytelling, the idea, everything you have behind is sometimes much more important with the final product. How many commercials have you seen that is one shot? You know what I mean? It's one shot, they do something, boom, boom, that's it. And that's the same effect of sometimes with a commercial that is spend millions in several hours.
And it's like you said as well, sometimes you work with people, athletes and other people, they are kind of like forced to promote this stuff, you know? So say with Blumenfeld, for example, like we interviewed him once and he kind of like got the feeling that sometimes he does things because his sponsors demand it. And like you said, all he wants to do is train and do triathlons and win triathlons. That's all he wants to do. But in order to do that, you need to do the marketing stuff.
Yeah, he goes along. They both, I think.
So, but like for him, if you say to him, like, look, all you have to do, come in, 10 minutes, boom, done.
He would be happy.
He'd be like,
right?
Awesome. Let's go with that option.
100%.
And then you can go back in the pool.
Exactly.
It's fine, you know.
And another method that is even better is that I'm also trying to do more and more is tag along on their training, for example. That you don't even bother then at all. They don't need to do anything for you. Maybe in the end, they're just like, hey, can you look this? Can you just do like, they are on their natural habitat.
All you ask is like, you just have to wear this outfit whilst you train.
Exactly.
And then
that's it. I would be like a fly on the wall.
Yeah, just like a zoom lens.
That's it.
You know,
so this is even better because they're in the natural habitat. They're just training. You're not asking them to do anything. You're not spending extra time because they have to train anyways, right? So just there, and that is even the best.
Speaking of like being more effective, have you started using like AI in your editing and stuff? Or?
I haven't yet.
No?
To be honest, I used Chat GPT 3 days ago for the first time. I had to send an email to a client. I was a bit angry. I needed to how to say that in a nicer way.
Exactly.
That was the first time I used.
It worked.
It worked really well.
Wow,
it was I think they would say they could tell that was not written by me because it was a perfect English, like some words that I have never seen before. But it worked. But I have not used anything. I like to try to keep it myself for now. I'm a bit more authentic. But with Photoshop, I have, of course, removed some things here and there.
Yes.
But that's like
I tried
face or...
I tried the noise reduction in Lightroom the other day.
That's extremely good.
It works, man. It really works.
That's a good fact because I use the Sony ZV-1 and some other cameras like the FX30, FX3.
Yeah.
I use those for shooting photos as well.
Yeah.
And then 11 megapixels. It's amazing.
Exactly.
I used to shoot before with Cybershot, which was 7 megapixels, and I still use nowadays. I post it. People don't even know.
Exactly.
Like they're really caught up on that you need a lot of megapixels. You need to know what you're shooting in order to know if you actually need those megapixels, right? So the good thing that you mentioned, Eddie, was that I used the ZV-1 and I made a really cool photo of a friend, but we knew that photo was only going to use for social media. That's also why I was shooting with the ZV-1 because that was good enough. But then the photo turned out really well, and he wanted to print that. He wanted to make it bigger, right? So then we print just like a paper to see how it would be, and like a A4 was kind of like okay. But then he would really like it. He wanted to print even bigger. But then I was like, okay, wait. Then I went to Lightroom, noise reduction, adjust a little bit here and there, and that I don't remember, but they have another function that you can expand the megapixels as well.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I have done it, but I don't remember like the functions. I'm not too much of a nerd tech guy, but I remember I did it. Then you get the extra megapixels plus the noise reduction. Then he could actually print that really big. So yes, I did have used the AI, but not like those other like changing things, put a car there or something else like this.
I'm just really curious when those kind of features will be introduced in the cameras. Yeah. Right. So
Sony start with that already, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah, implementing into the R5, you have an AI chip system.
Yes, it's insane, and
just scary.
Imagine and scary as well. But imagine a future where you can bump up the ISO to whatever you want, and there's not going to be any noise at all. You're not going to see the noise increase as the ISO increase.
I don't think you're gonna have to fix the ISO anymore. I think it's gonna fix it by itself.
Exactly. But you can do it in camera.
That's
like imagine that. That'd be really, really cool.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. Now I use it for like this podcast, for example, that we're doing now. We're filming it, and we have two angles, like one on you and one on me. And what I do is I use like this. Autopod, I think it's called.
Yeah, the one that cuts for
you. Exactly. So you link up a video source to an audio source, and then it cuts to when the waveforms are active on that audio source. And it cuts to that camera, and it does it for you within like 5 minutes. So
how much time would you spend if you had to do that manually?
Like 2 hours, maybe.
Exactly.
Because sometimes you make a mistake or something like that. You just sit and press 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's really boring work. It's really, really
boring. And another
boring.
thing to take in consideration, like you say, you use 5 minutes instead of 2 hours.
Yeah.
For one podcast.
Exactly.
How many podcasts you do in a year?
Exactly.
100 times
Loads.
2 hours.
Loads.
200 hours. You know what I mean? Then you just need to think about in the long term how much time it actually saves.
Yes. And then for me, like in terms of editing quick, my motivation to be quick at editing is to spend less time in front of a computer. The less time I spend in front of a computer doing like grunt work that's not very creative,
the more you can create. Yeah,
exactly. So I tried it out. I saw like a video of like it happening in real time. I was like, that's not real.
You see on Instagram, right?
Exactly. And I tried it out, and that's literally how it works. It just analyzes the whole thing. If it's like an hour thing, it just cuts it away. And another thing that I use as well is the Autopod does the same. It's called like jump cut editing. So it removes all the quiet spaces. So if we're not, I have another podcast where we don't use, like we don't upload the entire thing on video. So we're not like, jump cuts is okay, but it's just in the audio.
Gets bored if people are driving their car and there's a 1 minute silence when nobody says anything.
But it's just like if there's like a 2 minute silence or something, a 2 second silence,
you cut it.
It cuts it out.
Yeah.
And that's really, really boring as well to like go in. You have to stop, then you have to cut away those 2 seconds, and then you keep going. You have to listen to it in real time too.
Yeah,
it just does it for you.
And I use that as well on a CapCut, is for the phone.
Right.
So like when I do videos and you want to have the subtitles, so it generates the subtitles automatically.
Yes.
And also ask you if you want to remove those little seconds in between.
Right.
You click OK, it just delete automatically. And just with the phone. So
I do that with captions.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
CapCut, they generate the captions. and then there is a space in between the captions, right? This
Yeah,
1
yeah.
second, and then they ask you if you want to delete that
amazing.
with the phone.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But that's just stuff that I always kind of what I do is I compare it to driving, for example. So say you have a sat nav, you have a car, you know where you're going, and the destination is like the goal. Like you want to get there, but you have to drive for 2 hours. Imagine if someone tells you it only takes you 10 minutes to drive there. You would pick that option because like you just know where you're going, but getting there takes a long time. But this is going to be a lot quicker to go there by plane, for example. You know, so it's like of course you pick that option.
Definitely.
So it's that the sort of like grunt work of getting there. Like that's the boring part, and you want to be as quick as possible on that.
Unless you enjoy the journey, which for those kind of stuff, I don't think nobody else enjoying to be there cutting those kind of stuff.
And it's really, really boring, especially like stuff like long interviews and stuff. So whatever I can do to not have to do that,
definitely
great.
So I'm not against the AI as long as for those kind of stuff, like you mentioned now, then is really good.
Yeah.
But some people using for creating things that is actually not real or they haven't done themselves, then I'm a bit against.
Well, the problem is when you start to use AI and also templates, like graphic templates and stuff, and you charge for the work of making the template, then that doesn't really make sense. But for my job here, for example, you know, then I can just do other stuff and I can start filming and do like, be more productive instead of spending a lot of time.
Yeah, it's about using in your favor, right? And you use for helping out to speed up your process, your creativity in other ways.
Exactly.
Because I haven't done it yet, but I have a friend who has done it. Is he could use also to show like moody boards, right? To show the client like how it could be. So you're gonna have a photo shoot, for example. You could go there, use the AI, right? Let's say you're gonna put a car in front of a mountain. You could put Audi to mountain, you know, and then you just implement there. It's going to be something similar to that. Then you present the idea to the client and I explain that this photo is not real, right? It was created with AI. This is just a simulation of how the shoot could turn out. That could be something that the AI could be beneficial for. Yeah.
There's a lot of benefits, but, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to evolve in the future.
100%.
But it's a question of time, I think, before it's implemented into the cameras, like with noise reduction.
Like I say, they already started, so it's going to go even further.
And all you have to do is like look at how your iPhone is operating and see how the software develops there. And then that software then is implemented into cameras.
100%. And not just the iPhone, like I say, I use a Sony Xperia, the phone, and I'm fascinated, like, that you can film an S-Log, for example, right? Sorry, in a Cinetone. And you have also the option to use that as a monitor. So now
it's got an HDMI.
So now the new iPhone is USB-C, but before was Lightning, right? But with the Sony, you could put the card reader or hard drive. Everything is straight into the phone. So you have not just a phone, you have a monitor, you have a really good camera. So it's quite scary, the future, to be honest.
But that's what I think. That's why I think Sony is going to be the first ones to implement that kind of software in their cameras.
100%.
Because they have it already in the technology in their phones.
And not just that, is because it's quite easy for me to say because I'm a Sony Pro collaborator, but not just because of that. Because recently I was with the engineers, I was with them at an event in Sweden, and I was fascinated how they set all the creators down. And they were asking like, okay, they got a computer, make a list. What can we improve? You know what I mean? So then they were writing down the list from all the creators, like, what can we do better? What don't you like? Or what can you, you know? So there is some things that, of course, some people go a bit crazy, right? I had a friend, not a friend, but I got a met there. He shoot nature photography. And then he was like, yeah, like the camera, the lens or something gets a bit bad with autofocus or something when it's minus 40. Bro, you should be home. You shouldn't be outside with minus 40. But then he was, of course, joking a little bit. But there's a lot of things that can be implemented that probably the engineers don't know because they're creating some other stuff. I don't know, but when you hear from the creators that use that as their main, like, that's their job. Like, I use the camera, I would say almost every single day I touch the camera for doing something, you know what I mean? So we have a much more knowledge of what what people is asking or talking about out there than the people that is developing it. So it's really nice. So like you say with the AI, probably, I don't know, but someone gonna come in and say, hey, if you could do like this, is it possible? You know?
Yeah,
and then the guy, the engineer is like, oh shit, that we can do like this. So I think it will definitely be Sony to be the first one to take even further.
Definitely. It's gonna be interesting. But it's like one of the small features that I've been saying for a long time that I kind of miss is that when you film with the cameras and you're required to use audio, like how often do you walk around with a headset that's not Bluetooth connected anymore? Like wireless headphones, for example. Like everything is wireless because the phone doesn't have like a mini jack anymore. But then you have to like bring an extra headset for the camera. It's like I kind of want Bluetooth connectivity.
I think that might be the next step.
Yeah, it's just like a small feature, but I would love to have it.
I think because
you can use your AirPods.
It is possible because I think Insta360,
GoPro,
they already have this kind of feature.
Yeah, GoPro got like in the new one.
Yeah, that you can have I think with the Insta360 as well, you can kind of have the GoPro.
Yeah.
So I think they are probably discussing that. Like I say, they sit people around, right? But I don't know how much time it actually takes to develop it, but it might be a longer process. But if it is out there, it means it's possible.
They already have Bluetooth connected like in the cameras. So all you have to do is like add
switch to the headset.
just like be able to add like headsets to it too. So you don't have to use the mini jack input.
100%.
Also, another thing that I would love to see, and that's speaking of GoPro, on their last model, they added like a sensor that was a lot higher than it used to be. So it's like usually it's 4:3, but now they added like 8:7, I think it was. It's almost like 1-to-1 ratio.
Camera.
So you don't have to flip the GoPro if you want to film vertical.
Yeah, they just reframe it automatically.
You just reframe it automatically. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like when there's space in the cameras to actually implement a sensor like that to just make it a bit taller, it was like that would be really, really cool. And if you have then enough megapixels, but there's no noise in the ISO when you increase it, you can just reframe it afterwards. You don't have to flip the camera in portrait mode all the time. It just take pictures like normally.
And like I say, if it's out there, it is possible.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
Right.
So that'd be really cool to see sensors like that in that size.
And
if there's room there.
And if there is a company that will do that when it comes to the mirrorless full frame word, I think it would definitely be Sony to be the one to do that.
I always feel like they're usually first when it comes to stuff like that, and then the other people. So
I think it's also because they, for example, they make TV, so they know how when it comes to LSD, like how the brightness, whatever the quality, they make headphones, right? They make camera, they make several other stuff, and then they kind of implement everything into the camera.
Yeah, oh, definitely. What do you have plans for like the future and stuff like that? Do you have like a 5-year plan, or do you just go along as you...
I have some goals, of course, but I have definitely some plans. For a long time, I've been really wanted to do like a personal project, something that is not paid, is not financially by anybody. Of course, everyone is welcome to jump in and help it out, but it's like, it's my idea. I want to do how I want it. So I'm actually going to Brazil next year for 2 months. So I will be there 1 month working and 1 month with my girlfriend to visit the family and friends, enjoy a little bit of the Brazilian carnival. But I think moving forward, I will be trying to do more things that I want to do it. Like I've been doing already kind of like a lot. That is, it's my vision. Some companies come because they like what I want to do. So Red Bull, for example, I'm going to go to an event now because they want me to do something that I did last year, for example. They really like it. They want to have me back. So I think I want to start to do like this. It's not me going to the company with the idea. It's the company coming to me because they saw idea that I already had, right? That I have done something similar, or they want my style into it. So moving forward, I think I want to do more of that. And also I'm starting to do a lot of stuff with Sony, that they send some products before it's released, and also some cameras to kind of promote, right? So then I have like fully freedom to do kind of whatever I want. So I'm going to Portugal, for example, next week because the weather here is not
terrible.
ideal.
It's awful.
So I'm going there, meet up some friends.
Lisbon,
Lisbon, yeah. I'm going to be there for a week, just filming for Sony with FX Study to promote the new phone as well. They had like a lot of stuff. I just pack a bag with some stuff and go there. I will go back to the skateboarding a little bit, do some skate stuff with some friends. So I think moving forward, I want to do more things for myself and also focus a bit on my YouTube channel to kind of, like we've been talking here, like to educate the client and also some other people starting out, because it's easier to get a camera nowadays and just take photo. Like I'm a photographer, this job costs 10,000, but theoretically you have no idea what you're doing. You're destroying the market, right? With other people. So I want to kind of like create as well, because I feel like in Norway it's a lot of extremely good creators. I'm really impressed, to be honest. Like it's a lot of good creators. Some people never heard about, but they're extremely good, right? But I feel like the community itself is not as good. That people don't hang together that much. Like creators don't hang with creators. So I think it's one thing that I'm gonna try to do as well is to kind of like do more stuff what people get to know each other. They get you hanging out, network, bring other people to the shoot. Say, you're going to shoot, I do it behind the scenes for you. You know what I mean? Just to see how you work, like a friend. So that's also why, like on my YouTube channel, I will have a series where I show how other creators work, because I think you can always learn no matter what you do. If you shoot newborn, if you shoot weddings, or if you shoot sports, you can always take something from the other creator that can help you in your workflow, right? So I think moving forward, I will continue doing those kind of with Sony, do stuff with them, doing videos that I want, the way I want, and also focus on the channel to kind of educate, if I could say, some others that is starting out, and also show how other creators work, that I'm also interested to kind of know myself, to see their workflow and everything. So I think that's kind of like my plan, and also trying to bring together all those creators in Norway, like to make a little better community.
Cool, man. That's really nice.
Hope so. Hope we can make it.
Well, let us know if Foto.no can contribute.
I've been in touch like with Karen already for bringing something together. Maybe starting to do more, for example, exhibitions in the store. For example, having some photos hanging, people coming around, some drinks, talk. You know, like they just start to bring people a bit more together. I feel they're a bit too far apart from each other.
I love that. Want to help with that. Absolutely. Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for coming in. Really, really appreciated it.
Happy to be here, and thanks for bringing me in.
It's a good talk, and we wish you all the best in the future. All right.
Thank you.
See you next week, guys.